It is Haley Bowen. I am your host of the Marketing on Purpose show. And today we've got a pretty good show in store. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things that I have learned throughout my career that maybe if you applied to a smaller business would be very beneficial. So we're talking about big brand, big business methodology that you might want to adapt for your small business. So I've compiled a list, and I think I had about 12 different ideas that, throughout my career, I would have done when I worked on bigger brands and in bigger businesses, and then thought, oh my gosh, if small business could adapt this, it would be very, very useful and very beneficial. So just to give you a little background, so you know that I actually am qualified to share this information with you, I'll give you a really quick rundown of kind of my history as a marketer. So I've been in marketing for half my life. I'm 41 years old now, so I've been in marketing for half my life. I have worked for big brands. I've worked for international brands. I've worked for really big Canadian brands that you may know. So I was a senior brand manager for Moose Light, working for Moosehead Breweries. I was the brand manager for Swiss Chalet, working out of Ontario for Cara Operations. I did trade marketing, which is basically when you're adapting a brand and localizing it to different markets. So I did that for a company called Maxium. They've since been renamed, but I worked on a portfolio of over 40 brands with them, including like Jägermeister, Absolute Vodka, Wolf Blass Wines, Jim Beam products. I also worked out west for the Olin Specialty Beer Company, which was also regionalizing a lot of big brands that are beer brands. So that's kind of my big brand experience. And then I've worked for agencies, and I have worked for a tech startup, plus I have my own startup. So I've kind of seen both sides, the big and the small. And I've got 5 ideas that I wanted to share with you. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that big businesses do from a marketing standpoint, and you may not like this, but big businesses actually spend money on marketing, right? So I know as small businesses, we're creating budgets. Sometimes marketing can fall to the wayside. But we all know we need customers to have a business. So it's no big thing for a big company on a priority brand to be spending 30% of the revenue for that brand on a launch, right? I've had budgets over $2 million for specific brands, and they spend money on it, but they do it strategically. So that's the other thing. So the first thing is, you know what? If you want to do marketing, you're going to have to spend money. And yes, you can do social media marketing, right? Well, you're still spending time. Time is money. Time is money. So you've got to identify, what are you willing to spend? So, okay, the number one thing that I have is big companies, big businesses who have big marketing teams do annual planning. That is the number one. And they spend a lot of time doing annual planning. So when I was, a brand manager and also the senior brand manager, we would probably, 2 different companies have started our annual planning in the spring, and worked all through the summer and finalized our plan in September for the following year. So I'm just going to turn the sound off on that. So a lot of time on annual planning. And what is included in the annual planning that these bigger brands, bigger companies are doing, and yes, you probably are doing some form of annual planning. I hope you are doing some form of annual planning, at least figuring out what is your annual objective and how you're going to get there, right? That's basically what planning is. So you're looking at setting an objective for your business. How much money do you need to make? Right? How many customers do you need? Like that big objective of what do you need to do in the next year? What do you want to accomplish? Right? And then breaking that down into marketing objectives. So marketing objective may be, find a partner, or it could be, a channel objective like a Facebook strategy or Instagram, or it could be a campaign, customer acquisition objectives. It could be, anything, but basically you're starting with the big objective, you're breaking it down. Also included in the plan is an evaluation of everything that you've done in the past year, usually. So taking a look at all the campaigns and all the things that you had done in the past year and doing a serious evaluation of them. Are they worth repeating? Are they not worth repeating? Any customer research is included in this annual plan. Timelines, because a lot of the time with bigger companies, there's a lot of cross-functional teams. There's a lot of hands in the pot, and you have got to plan sooner in order to hit your numbers. Right. So if you have a campaign that's launching, say in January, you might have had to start ordering things and doing the planning and getting the cross-functional teams aligned 6 months prior. So creating that annual plan, that is the number one, and not just creating it, but actually doing it. So I find entrepreneurs, they kind of go in two directions, and some of them are bang on. So if you are bang on and you are doing everything you need to do, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the other people. So some people are planning crazy. So some entrepreneurs plan, but then they never execute, right? And some execute, and never plan. And so really, to be successful in marketing, you've got to have a plan, but you've got to take action. So the big companies are doing that. Okay, the other thing that big companies are doing is big companies are doing research. So big companies, like I said, they're evaluating everything that they've done, but they're also doing customer research. They need to know more about their customers. They do focus groups, they do surveys, they do packaging research. They do a lot of research. And, in one of the companies that I was in, I did, they spend money on research too. I think we spent maybe $150,000 on some customer research, but it was really pivotal research. It was for rebranding, and that's a lot of money, right? So I'm not suggesting that you spend your entire budget on research, but what I am suggesting is the more you know about your ideal customers, the more you know about their pain points, the more you know about how they make their buying decisions, the better your marketing will be. And so big companies are spending money on research. You need to either spend time or money. You've got to know time or money. They're kind of equivalent to me. So if you don't have the money, then you have to spend the time. You've got to do the research. That is the number one advice that I would give to anybody. And if you have people in your life and you have mentors and you have business advisors who are continually giving you advice, oh, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. You would feel much better about doing it if it was based in research. So with the research comes confidence, and then you do act on the plans that you create. Okay, so number 3, integrated strategies. So big companies, they have the resources, they have teams, either external or internal, that are specialized in different fields and different areas of marketing. So they may have somebody who is doing loyalty programs. They may have somebody who's doing Facebook. They may have a different person for Instagram. They may have somebody writing their blog. They have different people on their website. They have different people for packaging. Like, they have specialization. And when I first started in business, say 20 years ago, in my first roles, it was more of like a jack of all trades kind of thing. It was like you hired an agency, they said they could do it all, and they did. And then as I started going through and in my last, big corporate job at Moosehead, we were starting to really diversify and to specialize a lot more. So I didn't want to go to my agency for everything. I wanted to go to an agency who specialized in loyalty programs, for my loyalty programs. I wanted to go to an agency who specialized in gaming for some of my campaigns that I was running that were like techie, gamey things. I wanted to go to a packaging expert. I didn't want, the generalization, right? And so that's what bigger companies do. They now more than ever, they're grabbing the best of the best to help them execute their plans. So, and they're executing multi-channel plans. So the benefit to that, so multi-channel marketing is you're looking at running, say you're doing a campaign, maybe it's a launch campaign, maybe it's some kind of contest, I don't know. But if you're running a campaign, you maybe don't just want to run it on Facebook, right? You might want to do Facebook, you might want to do email marketing, you might want to have posters up, you might want to have an event launch, you might want to be on Instagram, maybe on radio, depending on who you are. So those are multi-channel campaigns where they're saying, this is the objective and we're going to feed it out into all of these different areas. Big companies can do that. They have the resources to do that, and they have the manpower to do that. As a small business, it's a lot harder to do that. So I started Marketing on Purpose in November 2017. So it's been about a year and a half. And I have worked with 60 to 70 different small businesses since I started. And the one thing that I say is fail fast and move on, right? So fail fast and adapt, because you can't test, like you can't be everywhere. So instead of being everywhere, find the channels that work the best for you, be really, really good at a couple of channels until you grow, and then you can be everywhere. But when your budgets are small and your time is limited, focus on the lowest hanging fruit, right? And then evaluate. So you're failing fast and you're adapting. You're failing fast and you're adapting, so that you can, get the results that you want without having to be everywhere. Okay, so annual planning, multi-channel research. The other thing that big companies do is, and this is one that you can do. You can do this, and it doesn't cost you any money. Big companies brainstorm. When I was all of the bigger companies that I was at, you never worked in a silo. It was more heads are better than one. And yes, you had kind of the captain of the team, right? You had the person who owned the brand. You had the brand manager or the marketing manager or whatever it is called in that specific company. But that person ideally brings in ideas from lots of different people. So you would have, it wouldn't be, there's no, when I was doing my annual planning, I was big on research and I was big on brainstorming. And I would bring in, key people from the sales team, some of the best people from the sales teams. I would bring them into my brainstorms. They're on the front lines. They know what customers are saying. They know what the competition is doing. They are key people to have on a brainstorm session. I would bring specialists in different areas so that, if we had an idea, they could say, oh, well, you could do this and this and this. I would bring in, sometimes I would bring in customers. So, if we had students working with us, I would bring in the students for a brainstorm because they were, for the brand that I was working on, they were in the target audience, right? Just different people who were intelligent and fun and creative. I would bring them all in and we would have a brainstorming session. And we would do this often because, I am creative, but I'm so much more creative when I'm feeding off the energy of other people. And so are they. So that's one thing, like when you are a solopreneur or a very small business, sometimes you don't have those sessions. And you could be leaving like a really, really good idea on the table. And, I always said to my husband, just takes one really good idea. It takes one really good idea to make a huge difference in your life, in your marketing, in your business. So that's one thing that, you guys can take, if you're not already doing it, from the big boys and adapt it to your small business. And the last one is big businesses have brands. They have products, but they have brands. They define their brands. They have brand strategies. And a brand strategy and a marketing strategy are two very different things. A marketing strategy is how you're going to meet a certain objective, right? I need to acquire 100 new customers. I need to build top of mind awareness for my product. I need to increase basket size. I need like more people, like my current clients, customers to buy more. Like those are marketing strategies, right? Those are our objectives for marketing strategies. And marketing strategies could be, your Facebook strategy or a promotional strategy or, a traditional media strategy, whatever. That's how you're going to achieve that objective. A brand strategy is very different from that. A brand strategy is the perception that you want people to have about your business or your brand. So it is way more, it's much harder to measure, right? But it's so important because it helps feed all of your messaging. It helps you to stand out in the market. You do the research, you understand your customers, and you figure out, how am I going to stand out? What do I stand for? Right? That's your brand strategy. One of my favorite brands that I worked on was Alexander Keith's. So I worked on the Alexander Keith's brand for years. I started out in Halifax at the Alexander Keith's Nova Scotia brewery. And it was a launch. So they were launching this brewery. It was a tourist attraction to bring people back in time and let them experience, the, joy of Nova Scotia. And it was great. And then I left there and I went out west and I worked for Olin Specialty Beer Company. And Alexander Keith's was one of the brands in the portfolio. I came back, worked for the agency that was doing the Alexander Keith's stuff. So Alexander Keith's, one of my favorite brands, hands down. It stands for Nova Scotia Good Times, right? So everything they do is related to that brand. So they basically created a brand, Nova Scotia, the lifeblood of Nova Scotia Good Times, and they created brand pillars. And the brand pillars helped the marketer to figure out, if I'm going to try to achieve this specific marketing objective and I need a marketing strategy, it needs to fall within one of the brand pillars, and the brand pillars fed up. So like lobster, music, I can't remember them all, but it had like brand pillars, what the brand stood for, is your competitive advantage. It's basically your story. It's everything. That's your brand. And that is the number one thing that big businesses have, that sometimes small businesses don't. They have. Everybody has a perception of you, right? But they don't try to really hone in on a brand that's going to help them be more successful. So a brand is the perception that your ideal customers and your competitors and everybody has of you. And you have the ability to shape that by being very consistent and really figuring out what you want that message to be, what you want to stand for. Apple stands for being different, right? That's the fifth thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so that's it. So if you are a small business, get a brand. Figure out that, this is one of those other things. You could pay people to figure out your brand for you. I was at a small business and we paid, I think, $15,000 for someone to figure out the brand for us. The problem with that is the owner didn't, and some of the other key people didn't necessarily embrace the brand, right? And if everybody in your company is not living the brand, breathing the brand, being the brand, then you don't really have a brand. You just have a piece of paper with a strategy on it, right? So that's why I have my company. My company is Marketing on Purpose, and it helps it helps business owners to build brand strategies that resonates with them, that means something to them, that they can stand behind, and that they are so excited about pushing forward into the world. So that is, that's what I do. And I am going to be launching a boot camp for that in September. I've already put, I think, 6 different groups through this strategic foundation boot camp, where we go and build your brand strategies, and then we actually go and build some marketing strategies for you too. But it starts with the brand. So if you are interested in building a brand for your business, then reach out to me. I will put you on the email list, and when I'm ready to launch that in September, you will be one of the first to know. Anyways, have a wonderful day. I hope you took something out of this live event, and I will see you next week on the Marketing on Purpose show.